if you've gotten personalized discounts for Uber Rides or Uber Eats, that was our team. We saw just how impactful personalizing discounts can be, and the benefits of just even having some basic understanding of the price sensitivity for different customers allows you to really generate huge returns relative to just sending out a discount to everyone. Most of the small shops, really the biggest kind of blocker that we have is a lot of them are just in disbelief that an AI model could help generate additional revenue for them. We were thinking about filling those with interns. A lot of those things we wanted interns to do could just be done with basically a lot of these AI tools. I think it's going to be more and more difficult to find kind of junior software engineer positions because that's really where it's starting to shrink. Nearly 10% of e-commerce goes through Shopify sites. So it's absolutely massive. And our investors at least believe that it has the potential for a unicorn idea, even potentially a decacorn idea, if it's broadly across all of e-commerce.
Most online stores guess on discounts. Peter Moot doesn't. He ran pricing at Uber and Jet, where targeted promos beat blanket sales by a mile. And now he's building Promi, a YC-backed startup for Shopify store owners. In this episode, we'll cover the 30% revenue unlock, the one code, different discount trick, and how AI tools replaced intern work on day one inside Promi. Builders, PMs, and founders, this one's pure signal. You're watching the AI chopping block.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Homebase AI. Today, we're meeting with Peter Moot. He's building Promi. It's a way to optimize your pricing, especially focused on the Shopify stores. Peter, maybe you can take it away here and give us a better introduction about what you do, what you're building, and who is it for.
Yeah. Happy to be here. So we are building Promi, and you got it right that it's basically a personalization platform for merchants to help them specifically kind of personalize on what discounts they send out. So we are leveraging AI model that will predict the price sensitivity of each of the visitors when they jump onto the website. And then we'll issue either a higher discount for some users that we deem very price sensitive, and then a lower discount for those other users who are price insensitive, and often just no discounts for those users. And the whole overall goal is basically to increase conversion, improve profitability for those merchants.
Got it. Sounds good. I mean, I can only imagine that this is like a huge problem and like a massive opportunity for merchants to increase their, as you mentioned, profitability. Can you tell me how you landed on this problem?
Yeah, I was working at Uber actually as the product manager overseeing discounts. So if you've gotten personalized discounts for Uber Rides or Uber Eats, that was our team that kind of handled that. As you can imagine, Uber has thrown a lot of resources at the problem of price optimization and personalization. And we were kind of there building out these very complicated AI models to figure out who responds well when given a discount. And when we were running these experiments, we saw just how impactful personalizing discounts can be. And the benefits of just even having some basic understanding of the price sensitivity for different customers allows you to really generate huge returns relative to just sending out a discount to everyone. And so that was kind of the impetus. Looked at those results and said, hey, this would be great for everyone, not just Uber. And we think we can kind of simplify a lot of this tech, taking some of the big learnings that we had from my 5 years at Uber. And so I got together with my co-founder and we started Promi.
Got it. And do you think so Uber have massive scale. Do you think the same applies for a smaller Shopify store owner, or is there a sweet spot that you can say is a good shop that would benefit from your product?
Yeah, so we definitely need some amount of scale for the merchants. But a lot of the merchants we're working with now are at the kind of $500,000 annual revenue and up from there. So they can still be very, very small in comparison to
Got
Uber.
Got it. Could you share some secrets about like how Uber handle or like how Uber tackled this problem? Like as an example, I remember, my buddy, he uses Uber a lot. Like he uses it for everything, and I've used it seldomly. Yet, like I was getting discounts all the time. He was not getting them. Is that like something that makes sense to you? Like, was it to in incentivize me to use Uber, or like what was the like? How does that work?
Yeah. Uh, that does make sense that that would be happening. A lot of the features and kind of the model and deciding kind of who should be getting discounts and who shouldn't are
Yeah.
things like how frequently do you ride Uber, um, both in the past kind of couple days, couple weeks, few months, things like that. A lot of it, for a lot of these models, it's a bit of a black box on kind of
Mhm.
understanding exactly the kind of chain of connections and characteristics that arrive at a discount decision versus not.
Right.
But looking at kind of the weighting of the features in the model, a lot of times we could see that it's looking for people who kind of seem to be churning off the platform or the kind of more infrequent users who then we would give a discount to and would generate more incrementality. Um, if you're giving discounts to basically those power users, a lot of times they would have taken the trip anyway. They're
Right.
already committed to Uber, so you don't need to incentivize them to take more trips.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, would you say it's like the same thing with like some of these Shopify owners, like the ones that are leaving their cart and or like, like full but not placing orders, like they get like specific alerts, or how does this work exactly? Is there like, can you give us an overview?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the big hypothesis that we had leaving Uber and trying to build this for much, much smaller shops is that there are actually some pretty simple trends that we
Mhm.
can tap into to generate a lot of that same efficiency that we generate in Uber without tons of data. And exactly kind of what you're pointing out, one of the big trends is basically kind of your existing customers, your very loyal customers versus maybe someone who's new or purchases less frequently. You'll notice shops do this today where they're offering basically new customer discounts. A
Mhm.
lot of times it's in the form of kind of an email sign up or something along those lines. And that's getting at the same kind of concept, right? So it's if someone is not familiar with the brand, a lot of times they are more price sensitive. Um, they don't know if they like it or not. So they're not necessarily willing to take as much of a risk and pay quite as much as someone who maybe is already sold on the brand, they like it, and they want to buy more. And so our model will kind of take those types of things into account. How many times has someone purchased from this brand? How many times have they viewed the website before? And we can basically leverage that in deciding what the best discount value is for them.
Got it. And I'm assuming so Uber probably has like data science teams assigned to this, but you're leveraging AI instead of data science teams, or do you have like data scientists involved here, or like how do you figure this stuff out on the?
Yeah, it's definitely not either. It's definitely not
Mhm.
either or. At Uber, we had data scientists and machine learning engineers all working together to kind of come up with the best approach to a lot of these things.
Uh-huh.
Um, right now, we have basically a machine learning engineering team that we're working with to kind of come up and develop the models. But it's a little bit of both. If you're thinking about kind of data science as this like complicated, I don't know, regression approach or elasticity estimate, things like that, we're not taking that approach. We're taking more of a neural network approach. And that does kind of fall into that machine learning engineer expertise a little bit more than the data scientists. But I think there are plenty of data scientists out there that know and are very familiar with neural networks too, probably.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so you picked like Shopify store owners as like your target ICP. What were like some of the metrics that led you into that decision, and like what's keeping you there? And can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so our go-to-market approach has been focusing on Shopify stores. And that really is primarily because it is convenient for scaling for a few reasons. One, the integrations are way easier for Shopify stores. If we are basically building into Shopify's existing API network, all the data we ingest is kind of formatted in the right schema for us to easily kind of pull into our models and run training on. Um, and Shopify has kind of a nice admin page where we can kind of surface things to merchants. And so for that reason, it's been pretty easy for us to just like kind of get started. And it's a huge ecosystem. So there's a lot of merchants there, and there's a lot of room for us to scale before really thinking about, how do we move beyond Shopify and scale even further.
Got it. Okay. And so you guys, speaking of scaling, you guys are a pretty like small team of 4 people right now, right? You started with 2 people. Are you looking to like, what's your thoughts about, scaling with people versus leaning into AI more to, automate some of the work that you can do using AI agents per se? Are you guys doing some of that at your current company?
Yes, we definitely are. And that's part of the reason that we've scaled so slowly up to this point is because each person can now be so much more efficient that in a lot of ways we don't feel the need so quite yet to really ramp up on hiring.
Mm.
Um, we try to adopt kind of a lot of the AI tools that we can in order to boost productivity, both on my side as kind of the product manager overseeing the team, and then on the engineering side of actually shipping code.
Got
Um,
it.
so
Got it.
And so
yeah,
what do you specifically use? I mean, like as a product manager, which tools do you use for your job, for example?
yeah. I mean, obviously ChatGPT, that's right there, and that like helps a ton as far from even just writing job descriptions, coming up with copy for the website, coming up with like email copy for cold outreach campaigns,
Mhm.
um, it, and also writing queries for doing data analysis and kind of figuring how effective our campaigns are. Um, I know our team uses Claude as well as ChatGPT for things like code reviews, just to kind of streamline the process and just make sure that instead of my CTO basically going through everything and needing to kind of write more comments. A lot of those tools today can do a pretty good job of basically seeing and cutting down the amount of time required um, to review and push something to prod.
Got it. Got it. And so I talk to a lot of product managers, and I know there's a lot of tools to help product managers pump out better PRDs or pump out PRDs faster. Do you use anything out there? Like, I mean, at least like from what I've heard, it's that a lot of them have, or they kind of come up short, basically. Like, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, so today we're still very much in the mode of we use Linear to track basically everything. I have purposely kind of avoided the whole PRD writing process for our setup, at least in the state that we're at right now. I
Yeah.
just think that um, especially with the like velocity and that we're trying to ship things and the speed at which decisions change and we're learning new information about kind of how merchants are working and how we can integrate with Shopify and things like that. Um, I've kind of opted more for like the Jira ticket approach, even though we're using Linear. So kind of like short form, like very quick description, and then maybe a link to Figma to show kind of what this looks like.
Mhm.
And it's meant to kind of take much less time. And with the understanding that we might start building it, we realize that we can't do this the right way, and we're gonna tear it up and do something new and just try that now. Um, so PRDs, I think, are super helpful and they're invaluable for large companies, but half the value of a PRD is circulating around the organization so everyone knows what you're building. But
Yeah.
with a small team, you don't need to do that. You can just jump on a call and make sure that everyone knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and so what made you choose Linear over Jira? I mean, I can only assume, so, given the fact that you're a startup, it makes sense. But like, what do you like about Linear?
Um, yeah, so I think it's a very clean tool in general. Um, it's like it maybe sounds silly, but it's got all the hotkeys. I can kind of create things very quickly. My tracking and like associating to a roadmap and just looking more broadly at um, how we're progressing on each of the different projects and kind of big areas of the app. I think the way that they set it up is it's really nice and very clean.
Got it. Got it. Okay, back to Promi. So, it sounds like this is something that was generally, or maybe it still is, somewhat of a luxury to like a smaller shop owners. What are some of the challenges that you have to overcome to persuade them to use something like this? I mean, or like, yeah, like what's like, are you guys having some roadblocks that you have to jump over, working with this, smaller merchants, or like what's like, how has been your GTM so far, approaching this market?
Most of the small shops, really the biggest kind of blocker that we have is a lot of them are just in disbelief that an AI model could help generate additional revenue for them.
Mhm.
I kind of get the sense that, with this big AI buzz out there, there are a million different tools claiming to be able to improve revenue for merchants.
Mhm.
And in a lot of cases, that is just not really panned out. And so I think that a lot of what we're trying to do is really build the trust of those merchants, and those who are willing to give us a chance. We make sure, for instance, we're running everything through a rigorous kind of A/B test. We're looking at statistical significance, so we're not just claiming kind of these wins. They are real wins,
Mhm.
and we try to make sure and answer any questions that the merchants have kind of along the way. Things that might not even be on our kind of performance dashboard, or details on how the model works and stuff like that. So, but I do think that's kind of like the biggest kind of blocker that we've had to date, is just maybe a misunderstanding of what the technology is, and a little bit of a distrust because they don't entirely kind of haven't wrapped their heads around it.
Got it. So in order to win their trust, you must have some interesting case studies. Like what, like, have you guys done, or like, yeah, tell me more about like some companies that you worked with that have seen, significant profit margin boosts using your product, if it's not a secret.
Yeah, no, it's not a secret. We have plenty of case studies on our website too. Um, and we've worked with merchants from kind of secondhand appliance sellers to bakeries to clothing brands, supplements, skincare brands, kind of all the above. Um, and we've seen really impressive results. And kind of one of the big takeaways we had across all these industries is there are very similar indicators that we can use and our model taps into that will decide basically if someone is good to give a discount to or not. Um, a couple of these case studies. So we had a supplements brand that we launched on. We actually um, gave a personalized discount up to 25% and saw a 50% increase, a 51% increase in average revenue per user, as well as a 39% increase in gross profit. Um, Now that's on the items that we applied the personalized discount to. But even if you're looking across site wide, how that impacted total revenue, it's closer to a 24% increase. Um, and that's not even really so much of an outlier. It's pretty exciting to see. We've also seen on a clothing brand a 67% increase in ARPU on the items that we were applied to, and that then translated to about a 30% increase in store-wide average revenue per user. Um, and then have had a couple others kind of in the like high 20s range for the average revenue per user. Um, so it does, especially when you're looking at the overall store-wide impact versus the impact for like the items that the discount is applied on. It really depends on how wide of a cross section we're applied across the store.
Mhm.
Um, and usually when merchants start using us, they will try us out on a few items, make sure that it's working well. And then when they're happy with the results and they believe in the results, they start kind of expanding from there.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Sounds good. So who is this product? Like, who is it not for? Like, who should not, like, who is too early for something like this? I mean, there's so many Shopify owners. I feel like there's, like, I don't know, there's so many people selling classes on how to start a Shopify store. I'm guessing not all of them do too well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. The easiest answer is if your store is very, very small, it's not going to work well for you. We do need some amount of data to train our model. And make sure that we're kind of have high quality predictions on the right people to target with our discounts.
Mhm.
And so we do have more than just the personalization model itself. There are kind of some bells and whistles that you can use out of the Promi platform. So we open up some of the features that we're using in our model. You can actually build logic of your own to target someone on. So if you only want to give discounts to people who maybe are coming from Google Shopping or an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad, we can kind of pull that in and make sure that we're only servicing discounts to those people. And that obviously does not require large amounts of data for us to do.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So is there like certain revenue number that just does not make sense for like a shop owner to engage with you?
I usually say kind of below $500,000 annual revenue.
Okay.
It depends a little bit. I mean, that's kind of a rule of thumb. And really what matters a bit more than kind of average or annual revenue is the amount of orders that you get, and the amount of visitors. So there could be some brands out there who, for instance, have very low average order values, but high quantity of orders we're still kind of able to train on. Uh, but kind of around that threshold is usually safe.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. Sounds good. So yeah, I mean, if we were to kind of like switch back to like some of the jobs that maybe you guys are looking to either fill in the future. I know you're not right now. Like, what would you be looking for, like in terms of like candidates? Just curious. Um, like I guess like where I'm going with this is more and more companies are looking for AI talent specifically. And so we're trying to understand like what does that look like when a company like yours who's running lean, and they're looking to make their next hire. What are you going to be looking for if, for example, all the AI talent is being snapped up by OpenAI, by Google, by things of that sort? Like if you were to make your next hire, what would that look like?
Yeah, so we're definitely still in the building out the engineering team kind of
Mhm.
phase, and that's the highest priority: building a good product, making
Mhm.
sure it's working for our merchant. So we have been hiring engineers with something of a background in machine learning, as well as full stack engineers, kind of a little bit of a mix of both. Compared to, I guess, the OpenAIs of the world, the Facebooks of the world, who are kind of sucking in a lot of that AI talent, we're probably going a little bit more junior.
Mhm.
We're not trying to kind of build a new foundation model. We're just looking to kind of implement what we think is like a pretty straightforward use case of AI, and maybe like a little bit novel
Mhm.
way of, but using a lot of the established approaches out there. And
Got it.
so
Got it.
we we will be hiring more engineers. It is a startup, so it's kind of those engineers who can wear multiple hats.
Mhm.
We like people who can jump on a sales call, who want to talk to customers, who want to get that feedback and instead of just shipping code.
Mhm.
Um, and as we continue to scale, we'll probably pivot a little bit more away from those, just building out more and more of that engineering team to sales team, to a marketing team, etc. And the engineers that we do hire are going to be more of that kind of traditional engineering role where they don't necessarily need to kind of jump into these sales calls or do these other things too, or do data analysis and stuff.
Got it. What has there like at least like with what we're doing, at least, like the experience that I've had is that there are certain things that I wanted to hire people for. And then I check out certain kind of tools out there and I realized that some of those tools do the job that I want someone else to do. Have you run into things like that? Or like tell me a little bit more about like if you're yeah, if you've found certain kind of AI agents or products that has replaced the need for hiring people.
Yes, we definitely have. And I guess I think of it a little bit in terms of there are some maybe less important roles and responsibilities that we need filled. And for a while, for instance, in our case, we were thinking about filling those with interns,
Mhm.
um, relatively junior people that can kind of come in and we can give a lot of just this basically work that we know we needs to be done, but it's not kind of core to the strategy of the product necessarily. So we don't need necessarily a ton of experience in machine learning or kind of business management and things like that. But when it came down to it, we realized like a lot of those things we wanted the interns to do
Mhm.
could just be done with basically a lot of these AI tools.
Mhm.
Even like AI tools, things like ChatGPT, it can kind of spit out very basic code that we can kind of go through and review, and then just kind of make some edits and put into prod from there. Um, that, in a lot of cases, is going to be faster, especially when you're looking at the ROI of bringing an intern on to the team. It's going to be the AI tool is going to be a better option for us, just because you have to train someone. If they're an engineer who's coming in, they have to get familiar with the code base. It will take probably at least a month for them to kind of get fully ramped up. In a lot of cases for these engineer or these interns, it's only like a few months that you'll have them before potentially they go back to school.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
those types of roles, and a lot of people talk about kind of like the junior roles that are going to be most impacted. I totally agree with that. Um, I think it's going to be more and more difficult to find kind of um, junior software engineer positions because that's really where it's starting to shrink.
Yeah. I'm seeing it myself. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. On the flip side, though, there's like, there's 15-year-old kids who are diving deep into AI. They're, like testing different things, pumping out prototypes, MVPs, learning quickly. So, the ones that kind of like embrace it seem to do like well. But on the flip side, I think there's a lot of them that came with this expectation in this world that like if they get a degree from this university or that, they're kind of set. And I don't know, I don't see it that way anymore. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And to your point of, some people will do well. I think we've taken the stance, and we do hire some junior engineers, um, that it's worth finding someone and putting in some investment to kind of make sure they understand the code base and um, are becoming a better engineer in general, to the point where over a long period of time, someone junior, I think if you invest in them well, can do a lot of things that AI still can't do and probably won't be able to do in the kind of near future. Um, Especially if you're thinking about, that founding engineer that's also jumping on sales calls and talking to merchants and um, thinking kind of high level overall across the business. Um, I think those are still very valuable skills.
Yeah. So what if there's maybe like two or three lessons that you can share from your time at Uber, what would they be? And ideally lessons that are helping you shape the direction of your current company and how you run it and how you manage it.
And is that lessons on kind of how
It
to
could be
run a company?
it could be in product management, like whatever like the biggest takeaways are for from your time at Uber. Like it can be just about anything, and we can for the purpose of this call we can focus on product management. I think that's something you
Yeah,
can tackle.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, One of the big things, the skills that I developed while at Uber was ruthlessly prioritizing across the team what people were working on.
Mhm.
It was a very big team at Uber that I was working with. It was something like 40 people. And so we had a lot of research to work on things, but it's still, you needed to know what was going to move the needle for the business. Moving from Uber to a startup environment with a much, much smaller team, that applies, but I think tenfold now.
Mhm.
We have so much fewer resources than Uber did. And we really have to kind of prove ourselves in a way that Uber's already been proved out. And we have like the luxury of kind of all of this data and user base to run experiments with, and we can kind of run them whenever we want to. Um, it's just that kind of mentality, I guess, it was helpful to have it in product management, because I think that's like a core piece of product management and has been kind of very helpful in running kind of a startup today too for
Mhm.
me. I find myself very frequently kind of sitting down and saying, okay, what is the next blocker to more growth for us? Um, so a little bit of mentality, I think, is something that's very valuable that I've taken away from Uber, and probably something you get from a lot of product management positions.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. And so, I mean, talking about prioritization and staying focused, I mean, it sounds like you guys picked, Shopify as your niche. Like, what are some of the metrics that has you convinced that this is the right approach and keeps you focused on this, on this niche, basically?
Yeah, the case studies that we've come gone through, and some of the results that I was talking through earlier, those give us a lot of faith and a lot of the bet leaving Uber and starting Promi was that we can develop a model that works on a fraction of the amount of data that Uber has. And we did end up taking a totally different approach to the machine learning model that we were developing at Uber versus what we have at Promi. And seeing those revenue per user metrics and the gross profit metrics and how much lift we were able to generate gives us a lot of conviction this is kind of the right path to be going down. And so once we actually, in kind of the stages of the product as we were building, we really started out by saying, we'll build the model, we'll test it, we'll just make sure that this could be a business overall. And then we moved more towards, okay, let's build everything around this to give the tooling to the merchants so they can have access to this model instead of like us basically building it for them. And since then, we've kind of doubled down and are building more and more to just make it more convenient for merchants.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And so I guess yeah, so what is like next for your company? I mean, you guys went through YC. Are you fundraising now, or are you kind of set for time being, or like what's your next move?
So we've raised our seed round, and so we have plenty of runway. That should take us to our Series A. And we look to kind of raise a Series A probably a year from now or so. And then, from there, more growth, more hiring and such. I see our kind of runway on the Shopify ecosystem at least getting us to a Series A, probably beyond. And I think with that, we could even just still focus on discounts. Now, I think there are some interesting adjacencies as you look kind of several years down the road into things like just base pricing optimization and taking kind of a similar approach to what we've taken with Promi. But I think we don't need to worry about that anytime soon. There's a lot of kind of runway for us, even just looking at the existing product.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. So when you say seed round, that's you guys you guys went through the YC and then you guys raised the seed round, right? So you guys had another fundraising. Nice. Like, what were some of the metrics that convinced the investors to go all in with you, with your product and your company, basically?
Yeah, at the time, we raised the seed round coming out of YC, and a lot of it was more about the team than kind of any traction we had at that point. And just us coming from Uber, having built a similar product and having this domain expertise and the technical expertise to kind of get it off the ground, I think was good enough for a lot of investors to kind of trust us and say, hey, we'll give these guys a shot. And yeah.
Got it. Got it. And so who's all on your team?
So 4 of us, as I mentioned before. My co-founder is also from Uber, and then we've hired 2 others, relatively junior engineers.
Got it. Got it. And so how did you and your co-founder meet? Was it Uber?
We overlapped to Uber. Yeah.
Nice.
He was on an adjacent team. I was working on discounts. He was kind of working on recommendations on Uber Eats side.
Got it. Got it. And so how did this idea came to be? Like, was it, I guess, like, was it your idea, your co-founder's idea? I don't know if it's a secret or.
No, it was, I was kind of looking to capitalize on some of the features and things that I built on at Uber, and just knowing how successful they were at Uber. So I kind of brought that idea to him, and he was looking for AI applications. And we did some validation of the market, talked to some merchants, and it seemed like it was a kind of a good area to dive into. And so, yeah, we took it from there.
Got it. And so how big of an idea do you think this is? Like, I mean, when you're pitching investors, like how big of a market is this? Like, if are you looking to just focus on Shopify? How big is that market? And then compared to where you guys want to go after Shopify?
There are definitely, so Shopify is a lot bigger than I think a lot of people realize. I want to say it's something like nearly 10% of e-commerce goes through Shopify sites. So it's absolutely massive. There are plenty of examples of unicorns that really have just gone through the Shopify ecosystem and maybe have bolted on now some kind of other platforms as well. So 𝐬𝐫𝐫𝐞 is a great example of this. I think there's probably room for us to get to, for instance, a unicorn valuation, just even staying in the Shopify ecosystem. If you're looking at beyond that, if we can reliably make sure that the model works in issuing the right discount to different people, this is, and our investors at least believe this is, that it has the potential for a unicorn idea, even potentially a decacorn idea, if it's like, broadly across all of e-commerce. E-commerce is just a massive space.
Yeah. And so beyond Shopify, are you targeting, another platform? Or like, are you maybe looking at enterprises? Or I'm guessing enterprises usually have their own models. Like, what would be the next move after Shopify?
We would probably expand to other platforms first, but it really depends on kind of our enterprise strategy as well. So we haven't really put a lot of time into kind of our go-to-market for enterprise. I think that obviously if the enterprise are big enough, then it makes sense for us to build bespoke solutions for them. I also think that there are a lot of these enterprises out there that this is really just not in their wheelhouse, even if they are massive companies. It's pretty expensive to build a machine learning team. And in most cases, I think we could still do a better job of it just with our expertise and kind of sharing this platform across different merchants versus someone trying to build this in-house.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Actually, I was talking to someone who used to work at Nike, and they ended up working, I think, with a company like yours. It was more about, price predictability or something like that. I don't exactly remember what product it was, but long story short, they ended up buying the startup just because it was, easier to do than to try to build whatever they've built in-house. So yeah, it was a pretty good, sweet exit for that company. It was like, I think at that point it was like a 40 or 50 person team. So yeah, I think there could be definitely like a play like that there, is my guess. But yeah, sounds good. I guess, is there like some other things that we like the Shopify owners should know about your product, that maybe like some of the questions that I have not asked you yet?
I think one thing that I like to remind these Shopify stores is just the magnitude of revenue and profit gains that they can get from personalization. And it's not even just price personalization, but personalizing kind of things across their site. This is really a whole different dimension that, while AI has been helpful and I think it's like speeding up the ability to personalize, there have been platforms for personalization for a while now. I'm kind of convinced that price is one of the most impactful levers. And so if you're now starting to get into personalizing price, there's a lot of headroom there. But there are a lot of ways to personalize. And I think that I would encourage a lot of the e-commerce merchants to kind of look into that.
Got it. Is there a way you can do like a quick demo of how the product works? Or like maybe can we check out like one of the stores that you're working with to see, your product in action? I don't know, whichever makes more sense.
Yeah. Um, so here's kind of a quick example. I can share my screen and
Okay.
I'll just pull up one of our existing um, stores. So here you see these volume discounts. This is something that we are personalizing. And we actually wouldn't necessarily even give everyone any offers. Some people might not see buy 3 shirts, like a discount for that. Some
Mhm.
people might not see buy 4 shirts, a discount for that. So
Mhm.
it's entirely personalized. This is kind of the example of something that we would do kind of across the site.
Mhm.
Um, if I go, it's a little bit slow with loading right now, just the website is, but um, so you can see kind of these sales right below here. We
Mhm.
also will do this, and allow merchants to trigger kind of price strike throughs and sales badges if they want to. There's
Mhm.
kind of an extensive UX suite and customization that merchants can do to make sure that the discount is displaying the way that they want it and matching the theme of their website.
Mhm.
So how would how do you know when to give someone 13% discount and how to give someone else like a 15% discount? Like, or I don't know, whatever the number is that you guys have set.
Yeah, so we're giving a price sensitivity score
Okay.
basically, and the more price sensitive someone is, the higher discount we'll give versus the less price sensitive is, the lower the discount that we'll give. And
And
we
how do you
do
figure
give
it out?
merchants,
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry,
go
go ahead.
ahead. Yeah.
yeah, um, and we do give merchants some ability to set guardrails on this, so
Okay.
they can set like a maximum discount value. They can also set a minimum discount value if they want to make sure that everyone gets some discount.
Mhm.
Um, what the model is looking at in these situations is we're pulling 3 different categories of data. There's one that's contextual data, so it's time of day of week, device type, traffic source. Then there's personal information, so how many times has this person purchased from this website? What's their view history, etc.
Mhm.
And then there's just store metadata. So what's the conversion rate of the different products? What's the profit margin on each of the different products, etc. And then
Mhm.
all of that goes into the model, and that's what we use to decide how price sensitive someone is.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, like, has anyone figured out how to game the system? Like, for example, like I know there's so many like SaaS tools where if you cancel the plan, you get like a 50% discount. So a lot of people will start a trial and
Mhm.
then cancel it just to get like that 50% discount. Like, is there a way to game the system here as well, or is it just too unpredictable for someone to figure that out?
Well, as we have a couple things that we put in there to help avoid people gaming the system.
Uh-huh.
One is a discount cash. So once we issue someone a discount, that discount is sticky for a certain number of days. So it's
Mhm.
not going to be jumping around. So they can't just kind of keep going back to the website and hoping to get some new discount. That
Mm.
helps a lot. Another thing that helps a lot is even people just coming from and using traffic source as a big way to determine what the discount should be the first time that someone lands on the website. So if they're
Mhm.
coming from, for instance, like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, we might decide to kind of issue them something. Um, and then that's a little bit more difficult for them to kind of replicate if they're trying to kind of go back in or like change like where they're coming from. Um, One, again, that the discount is sticky, but then two, they may no longer have access to that ad to kind of um, go in and influence the discount value.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. Sounds good. I had another question here about this. I'm trying to figure out what it was, but yeah, it's yes, it sounds interesting. I mean, what do you think is like the probability that Shopify just comes out with their own thing for their merchants? Is that like a threat that you guys like are like kind of aware of, or like I mean that might happen, or I don't know that you think it could happen?
kind of AI tools and AI pricing optimization?
Yeah. For their merchants.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge risk. If you look at the precedent set in the Shopify ecosystem, there have been some very large apps that have they've allowed to develop and take up kind of sections of the functionality for merchants.
Mhm.
A lot of times Shopify will kind of create these basic features that will serve as kind of the lowest common denominator for what is required to get a shop up and running. And then what you'll see is certain providers will go deep in one area and provide a kind of much better experience and build that out
Mhm.
for one thing in particular. And then that's Shopify allows that to happen. They're kind of the platform for everyone, but they're not going to be the like number one expert in maybe some of these like marketing tools, for instance. I also think that Shopify has not done a lot in price optimization in the past. This is
Mhm.
kind of an area that they have not dabbled in. And so just looking at the precedent set there, it's unlikely, I think, that they would all of a sudden switch course and decide that it's a huge priority for them.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, sounds good, Peter. I'm talking to a couple of people tomorrow who own marketing agencies that work with Shopify stores. So I'll throw in your product pitch in there, or the recording that we created to it today. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a interesting product, and it's so crazy how now you can do so much uh with like AI and basically build technology that's being replicated from Uber. I mean, I don't know if you can call it that, but sounds like it could be a great option for a lot of Shopify owners. But yeah, so I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you? Like, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So the website is Promi.ai. If you go on there, you can get in contact with us. You can book a call directly with me. All of our information is right there.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, Peter. I'm gonna go ahead and drop off here, and then we'll be in touch.